Hello and welcome to a more somber video than I'm usually used to doing. Um, just kind of saw that this news was official today, or this evening, I should say, and thought it was worth commemorating because of the significance of the Debian project to software, um, to free software especially, and really to the entire world of computing because, pretty much if you have used the internet in the last 10 years, you've probably benefited from the Debian project, and from, the platform it provides for the world's computing infrastructure, free of charge, right? It's completely free software. So sadly, the founder of this project, Ian Murdock, who was, as it says here, a former vice president of Sun and chief technical officer of the Linux Foundation, has died. And uh, this Ars Technica article gives some history about the Debian project, about Murdoch's career. He ended his career at Docker, which is obviously hugely successful software project in its own right. And from what was posted on his Twitter account, it appears that he committed suicide after being arrested by the San Francisco police. So that is not all confirmed. We don't know what the true final statement on what happened is, but it's a very sad story nonetheless. So I figured, as far as what I could do as a tribute, is to maybe just do a Debian install on this video, and let's not do the Express install. Let's go and try to do just a standard Debian install. Right here. And I figured I would talk a little bit about my experience with Debian and Debian derivatives as we go through this here. I started using Linux as a desktop operating system about 6 years ago. Basically, I was running Windows Vista, and it stopped working for me properly. And I couldn't afford to actually, buy Windows 7. It was too expensive for me at that point in time. I didn't have enough money. I was unemployed, but I did desperately need a new operating system because Windows Vista it completely had stopped working for me. And that's when I went ahead and installed Ubuntu for the second time, I guess you could say, the third time maybe. And okay, gotta set a root password here. Oops. And this is just a perfunctory install we're doing here. So I am not going to be too serious about what I choose here for my password. Select your time zone. Whatever. We'll choose the Pacific. It's fine. Yeah, so basically I set up Ubuntu, and I had tried to use Ubuntu in the past. And I had found it in the past to just be unusable. It really wasn't there. It had too many bugs, too many finicky problems, especially the Japanese language support for the operating system was insufficient for my needs when I tried it back in university. But at that time, I finally, found that Ubuntu had reached the level. I think this was around the time when 12.04 came out. I thought it had finally reached the point where it was a usable daily operating system for me. And of course, Ubuntu was, or it still is, a derivative of the Debian base. And is very, very widely used. To some extent, Ubuntu has displaced Debian as even a server operating system, not just a desktop operating system, but it nevertheless is based on Debian code, and certainly uses apt-get, which is a tool that Murdock himself, hacked it. He wrote it. And so, like, at a time when I didn't have enough money to get a functioning operating system, I found that this here was one that I could use, I could enjoy, and it wouldn't cost me a cent. Subsequently, when I did have money, I donated back to Ubuntu, and I didn't donate back to Debian, unfortunately. I think there may be some issues with their outreach in terms of donations or even just the visibility of the Debian project. But I did donate to many other Linux distributions as well as many free software projects that are included in Debian, as a gesture of gratitude for what they offered me at a time when I couldn't afford commercial software. Let's choose Japan here. Sure. Nope. We don't need that. So here we have apt is up and running and getting software for us. Yeah, I just wanted to show some gratitude for providing that excellent free software to me when I could not afford to pay for commercial software. And I started out with Ubuntu, and I later actually tried to run the Mint Debian edition as well as Solid XK, which was or still is a Debian spin, more directly based on the Debian code base, and not quite so patched and abstracted as Ubuntu is. So I have a little bit of experience running Debian directly as well, even though these days I mainly run Arch Linux. And yeah, I mean, look, this is amazing, right? You can choose your desktop environment right here. Uh, I think that should do it for us. Um, like, I can't even think of before Linux, before Debian, before Ubuntu, the ability to just like this, I just go grab a torrent file, I open up boxes, and I just launched the Debian ISO, and right now it's pulling down over 1,000 software packages off a server for me to give me a runnable uh, desktop environment. And like I said, even if you are not using desktop Linux, most of you, I'm sure, are not using desktop Linux. Um, it is still the backbone of the internet that is making your daily computing possible. And if it wasn't for people like Murdoch, we wouldn't have that. And I really think, basically for me, it was like at the time when I was unemployed, I had I had Ubuntu there for me. I had that free software, not just Ubuntu, but all the free software that's packaged with it. And the other resource I really turned to at that time was my local public library. And I feel like, the software repositories that, say, Debian offers are very much akin to what a public library offers to people who don't have the money to pay for, commercial access to knowledge, such as, like going to your local bookstore, buying a novel, or going to your local software store, buying Windows, or buying, a proprietary piece of software from an app store. Uh, so I think this is, a really valuable resource, and I really appreciate the legacy that Murdoch has left. No matter what the circumstances of his death end up being, I think we can all really appreciate what he did for um, just the sort of common, our access to the common endowment of knowledge of humanity, and its form as software. So yeah, just want to just state my thanks and my appreciation for that. And I really hope that the Debian project continues to go strong. Um, Certainly, Docker is very strong, but um, as for Debian, well, last year they just went through a very tumultuous transition to systemd as their init system. It was extremely controversial. Many feelings were hurt. It was a very grueling political battle to get it implemented, but Debian's now running systemd, and that is a certainly a modern init system. And more recent, maybe more positive news from the Debian project is that they are going to be, well, I don't know if they'll be the first, but they're basically the ones who um, initiated uh, Linux getting like official package support for the ZFS file system, which is like I'm sure many of you are not aware of what ZFS is, but it is probably the most stable heavy duty file system in the world today. And because of some licensing issues around it, it was not thought to be uh, able to be packaged with Linux distribution. But thanks to the work of the Debian team and others in the free software community, it will be packaged with Debian in the future, and I think the the Ubuntu team and the Arch team have announced that they will also be packaging ZFS for Linux as a like default install option, and we'll have to see where that all goes. But that is certainly a big win for the Linux platform, and have to give a lot of props to the Debian team for that. And that is another part of Murdock's legacy in a way. Previously, it was only available on BSDs, not on Linux, but that is going to change. So that is very good news in terms of providing, excellent file storage options for free for everybody. Everybody who has access to a computer and an internet connection, which I realize is certainly not everybody, but nevertheless, it is free to those who can get access to it. So the Debian project is continuing. There are many, 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 many distributions based off of it, and I hope that continues into the future, and that the future of free software is bright, and that it has been it has gotten that excellent inheritance from Murdock, and that will continue to be effective into the future. So that's all I really have to say. I'm just going to finish off this video in silence while I let the rest of this install run, just out of respect. And if you have the means and you have the interest, I certainly suggest looking into free software, giving Linux a try, and if you find it useful, then go ahead and donate to those free software projects that provide you with value, because although it is gratis, although it is free of cost, it is certainly not free to make, and they do need your support in order to continue to improve and continue to be available. And that's really all I have to say. So, thank you.